Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how I edit my videos. This isn't necessarily going to be a Final Cut Pro 101, but rather I'm going to share with you a bunch of tips and tricks on how to elevate your videos and basically also my editing process. So the software that I use is called Final Cut Pro 10. I think. Yeah, and I've been using it for almost 4 years now. It is a paid video editing software, but I'm pretty sure there are like crap versions online. But yeah, I thought it was a good investment because I like editing videos. It's sort of like a one step up from using iMovie. If you've seen the interface, it definitely looks a little more complicated. And there are a bunch of like hidden functions that I did not really know about until I watched some masterclasses on Skillshare. So today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Thank you so much. I actually first learned how to use Final Cut Pro by watching those classes on Skillshare. One of my favorite YouTubers like 3 or 4 years ago was Conan, and one of his videos was sponsored by Skillshare, and I decided to use his free trial link to learn more about how to use the software. So if you want to learn how to use Final Cut Pro or any other software, or just learn anything basically, definitely check out the available classes on Skillshare. Skillshare offers creative classes designed for real life and all the circumstances that come with it. These lessons can help you stay inspired, express yourself, and introduce you to a community of millions. They offer classes on design, business, using different softwares, productivity, and so much more. If you want to learn more about the editing software that I use, I recommend this class by Ali Abdal called Video Editing with Final Cut Pro 10, From Beginner to YouTuber. This is the perfect Final Cut Pro 101 for any beginner because he teaches you in depth the basics of Final Cut Pro, so that includes cutting clips and how to use keyboard shortcuts, how to add titles, transitions, images, and background music, sound effects, and color grading. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they're always launching new premium classes. And the best part is that it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. But for a limited time, you can use the link in my description to get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. Thank you, Skillshare! So, let's begin. Over here is an outline of my process. There are 3 main outputs: the rough cut, the fine cut, and the final cut. So before everything, I like to create and store libraries and projects on an external hard drive. That way the project won't eat up a lot of my storage on my laptop. So once that's done, I proceed to editing the rough cut, which is basically just a compilation of all my raw clips edited with the music. One thing that you can definitely pay attention to during this part of the editing process is the sound mixing, which is basically just the volume levels of the raw clips as well as the music. Also, one way that I do this is by editing my clips in such a way that it matches to the beat of the song. But obviously, before all of this, you're going to want to find music. The website that I use for royalty-free and non-copyrighted music is Epidemic Sound. There's a membership fee, but again, you can find non-copyrighted music anywhere, like on YouTube. Just search non-copyrighted music, especially if you're gonna upload your video on YouTube. Like that's the #1 thing. For me, I typically go for either lo-fi or chill hop, sort of basic vlog music. For more laid back and chill vlogs, I tend to use coffee house jazz. But for the video that I'm editing now and for more sentimental vlogs, I like using indie folk music. Just make sure to search for music that evokes the same emotion as your videos do. So once I'm done with the rough cut, I proceed to the fine cut. In this stage of the editing process, I basically get an idea of how long the video is gonna be. And it's also the part wherein I add all my little stuff, like filters, or if I need to zoom in on certain clips, and also my text, titles, and simple animations, which sort of elevates my vlogs, which is what I'm going to show you right now. So the application that I use to write texts and also make my thumbnails is called Autodesk Sketchbook. By the way, my iPad model is the iPad Mini 3, which is super old, but it's the only tablet that I have right now. So on one layer, I usually have a color palette with all the colors that I typically use in all my videos, and so I just refer to that. And the only 2 brushes that I use are the Copic pens, and for this one, it is the Chalk Pastel. So yeah, I usually just write the text and remove the background so that it saves as a PNG. For animations, I usually add an additional layer and just write over the previous layer, because no matter what, it still ends up pretty different. So once that's done, I airdrop both layers without the backgrounds to my laptop so that I could animate it on Final Cut. If you want a more detailed video on how to use this application to add doodles and texts to your videos, I'll link a video down below. So as you can see, I imported both pictures into Final Cut, and now I'm just changing the positioning and the length of both of them in such a way that it looks like a very simple animation. I don't really know how to explain this part, but once I'm satisfied, I just copy and paste both clips over the duration of my master clip so that it matches the length, and this is the finished product. Also, another thing that I do is select all the clips and turn it into a compound clip just so that it looks less daunting for me. I only do this if I animate certain clips though. So this is usually the most time-consuming part of my entire process, just because it involves me having to rewatch the rough cut, pausing whenever I need to add text, drawing that out on my iPad, and then airdropping it back to my laptop. I could just go the easy route and just use the built-in add text feature of Final Cut, but then I think that handwritten texts sort of fit my aesthetic more, and just so it's more consistent with all of my videos. This usually takes me about an hour or 2 hours. This process is a lot longer for me because my iPad mini is pretty small, so I am investing in a bigger iPad just so that this process could be a lot faster. But in the meantime, I still think that it's worth it because the end product looks really nice. So once that's done, I import all of the images to Final Cut, position them over specific clips, and change the positioning and the length. As I'm editing the Fine Cut, I also sometimes add certain effects to different clips, whether that's zoom ins or changing the scale or distort the clip in certain ways. This is all built into Final Cut already, but for this specific video, I did not do that just because it was more of a chill aesthetic vlog more than a meme-ish vlog. So once I've added all the text and effects, this is how the timeline for my Fine Cut looks. So it's basically just the music on the bottom layer, my master clips, and the top layer is my added text. So once that's done, I proceed to editing the Final Cut. So for that, I select all of my master clips and turn that into a compound clip just so that the color grading process is a lot faster. I use a Final Cut Pro plugin called MLUTs, and I just drag that effect into my compound clip, and that loads the plugin on the upper right. And then I just click on load custom LUT and then load whichever LUT that I want to use. For me, I always use the Sedona sort of filter and bump the intensity down to 40%. As well as the contrast to 0.9. Besides this, I also use the built-in color correcting feature of Final Cut Pro, and I saved a template of the color corrections that I always use, and so I just plug that in, and that is my color graded video. Installing this plugin is a little bit complicated, so I'll leave a video link down below on how to install this and set this up. Rendering is such an important step, especially if you use plugins, because if I don't, then it sort of distorts the clip or makes it look a little weird. So yeah, I just clicked on render, and because this plugin is really big, this usually takes honestly about 30 minutes to an hour depending on the video. So during this time, I usually just wait and do other stuff and just keep this running in the background. Once that's done, I can export the video and it's done. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys next week with a new one, and goodbye.